Landon Dickerson is back. Coming back to the Eagles. We're going to talk about that. We're going to hear from E.J. Smith and Fran Duffy live at the Combine with a preview of the workouts tonight. Jamie Lynch is here with me. Stay tuned. A lot coming at you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles Podcast, live from the Xfinity Studio and presented by Bet365 and Ashley. We are back home in the studio and back home at our normal 2 o'clock time. Good to be settled in. Bo Wulf, joined today by the great Jamie Lynch. Jamie, how you doing?
Hello. Welcome back to the studio.
Talk birds in a while.
We haven't, and haven't seen many people in the studio these last couple of weeks. Thanks to non-functioning toilets most of the time.
Give it up for working plumbing. We can flush, we can wash hands. The world is our oyster.
Yeah, I mean, you guys gallivanting from San Fran to Indy to no plumbing. So it's been a while. It's good to see everybody back in the studio.
Yeah, it feels much cleaner when we're here.
It was very, very depressing 2.5 weeks here. Just like nobody here, crickets everywhere. So it's good to have some energy back in the office.
And good to have some energy back with the Eagles in the presence of Landon Dickerson, Jamie, as Landon Dickerson essentially revealing today on Instagram that he is coming back. Now, you would think that a player as young as he is, as good as he is, this was, it should have been obvious, but he has dealt with some really serious injuries that have, I think, really affected him, especially over the past year. Reportedly considered coming back, but follows suit with Lane Johnson. The Eagles now have Landon Dickerson back as well. How do you feel about that?
This is a tough one because it's like good news, bad news. Because the good news is Landon's returning. Also, the good news is it probably justifies his dip in performance last year.
Good point.
The bad news is now I'm just thinking the end of his career is right around the turn. And it's going to be that way forever. So Landon, I know, had severe knee problems in college, and injury history is something that's haunted him forever. To think his career could be this cut short is kind of depressing because he's such a great player when healthy.
And it's interesting because this is sort of was the scouting report on him when he came out.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's make this the right people presented by our friends at TrueMark Financial, because the Eagles do have the right people coming back in the form of Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson. That he dealt with those injuries in college. It's like, okay, it's on the table that you might have a guy who's great, but is not going to be around for a long time. Now, the Eagles signed him to the extension. He's one of the highest paid guards in football. Obviously, they want him back. But yeah, it is likely that this is not going to go the way of Lane Johnson, where he's going to be here for 15 years.
Yeah. Every season now in the back of my head is going to be like, oh, damn, is Landon done? And that's tough for a front office too, because you have to have those honest conversations with them of like, how you feeling every year? Because that goes into your draft, program and model. And maybe you're drafting his replacement 2 years in advance. Maybe you get caught off guard and have to draft him that year out of, your draft board in order. So it's kind of it's good news. I'm happy for Landon that he's coming back and he's like injury free enough to play again. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, damn, the end is near. And if him and Lane are gone and Juergens with his, stem cell Ecuador trips or Colombia trips, wherever.
I heard a little rumor that Landon might be following suit.
Oh, yeah.
Might be making that trip to Colombia as well.
I am pro stem cell. Like, go get it, boys.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever you want to do to go take care of yourselves. If you want to go the Kobe Bryant German blood cycling route, go for it. But yeah, it's kind of sad that this once dominant offensive line that you didn't even have to think about.
Well, it's going to be really, really interesting.
It's something you really have to think about.
If the Eagles do not make some kind of huge splash, if A.J. Brown is back and it's just sort of improvements on the margins, and nothing, no howie wowies. There's no doubt that the most interesting part of training camp is going to be the offensive line.
Yeah.
And it's all of those guys coming back. Now, you understand why they were all banged up. They went to the Super Bowl. That is a tale as old as time. Now they get, an extra month to recover. I think they feel like they will be feeling better. But in a post-Jeff Stoutland world, with a new offensive line coach who doesn't have a great track record and also usually looks for different kinds of qualities, Landon Dickerson is not necessarily the prototype of a wide zone guard, right? He is more of a powerful mauler. I think he will be fine in the system. He's a great player when healthy, but it's going to be just watching all these moving parts moving in different ways. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, it is. And Jordan talking about, the new guy with you guys at Radio Row at the Super Bowl, and like Lane, through Baldy and others saying like, yeah, there was a second where they had to think like, how much does this new coach affect our decision to return? All of a sudden, and look, I believe that the Eagles, Stoutland was a big part of my belief, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That they can replace these guys effectively and keep it going. And I still believe they, have to build through the trenches, but all of a sudden, the end is kind of not in the rearview mirror anymore. It's quickly approaching. And that's a scary thought because it's been such a great line. Yeah, well, that's true. We're not getting any younger, Bo.
Well, that'll do it for the right people, presented by our friends at TrueMark Financial. Landon Dickerson is back.
But that's good news.
Exciting news for the Eagles.
Yes. I don't want to be too doom and gloom about it, but I can't help but think about the end. But yes, it's good he's back. Hopefully he's feeling good, and hopefully those Columbia stem cells from your alma mater, I believe, right?
Is that right?
I believe it was a Wake Forest program.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Deeks.
Yeah, so
All
the
right.
Deacons.
On yesterday's show, EJ and I were batting around the idea of Nakobe Dean or Breed Blankenship eventually landing in Dallas, where Christian Parker is installing a new defense, and our friend Clarence Hill reporting yesterday that they do, in fact, the Cowboys have significant interest in Nakobe Dean. What do you make of that?
I kind of want to puke on this table. I've accepted that Nakobe's gone, and it's a shame because he's so likable. And he was so good coming off of injury, and you just can't pay everyone. That's the reality of the world. But of all the teams to follow Christian Parker to Dallas, that is just a tough pill to swallow.
Well, let me ask you this. Of the big four free agents for the Eagles, Nakobe Dean, Reed Blankenship, Dallas Goedert, Jaelan Phillips, rank them in order of not, I don't want you to factor in like how likely it is the Eagles will re-sign them. I want you to rank them in order of how painful it will be to watch them play in another jersey.
It's a tough question. Jaelan Phillips, I probably have the least equity with.
Right.
Yeah, so he's probably fourth, just because he plays at a premium position, and some of the numbers rumored to be around him. It's like, see you later. Dallas Goedert's tough because I always thought the Eagles' offense was at its best when they were feeding him. He had such big play potential. Was a pretty good blocker for the majority of his time here. Always felt like an explosive play was in his realm. Nakobe only played 2 of the 4 years he was here, whereas Dallas had the more like sweat equity with the fan base.
Sure.
And then who was the fourth?
Reed Blankenship.
Reed, I feel like they can't lose.
Okay.
I think Dallas Goedert's going to be. Reed would probably be the most painful.
Okay, interesting. I'm surprised by that. Is that you putting on your All City hat?
No. I think the thing with safety play is it goes underappreciated until you have bad ones.
Yeah.
And Reed has been such a stalwart and like staple back there that if they moved on from him, I fear what would be next. Like Drew Makuba's not there yet where you can just turn it over to him and feel good. And then you don't have much, So I feel like his removal would be the most painful from an optics of watching the game standpoint.
Okay.
Dallas Goedert, you just kind of like, I think I would go Reed, Goedert, Nakobe. No. Reed, Goedert, Nakobe, Jaelan, I think would be the order.
Okay.
Dallas
I'm a little surprised.
I am too, actually, now
because
that I say it out loud.
I get the Reed will be tough to replace. But I don't know that Reed has engendered the same love from the fan base as
Yes, if you're going pure like EQ, just like attachment, I think
Yeah, like
Dallas.
you see this person putting on a Cowboys jersey. How much would it hurt you?
Nakobe is pretty tough.
I think Nakobe might be the worst one.
Dallas would be tough.
Yeah, but Dallas has put in so much time here that it's almost
like natural.
It almost looks like a joke. It's like it's like Ertz in a Commander's jersey. It's like, that's fine. You know what? I'm happy you're getting paid.
Yeah. You gave us so much. Go get that bag.
Like Nakobe has a chance to go somewhere and then
be great still.
And then that be the team that he's remembered for.
Yeah, you might be right there. Because Nakobe played unbelievable football this year.
Yeah.
To see him do that in a Cowboys jersey, oof, that would hurt. Yeah.
Oh, that's a fun one to bounce around.
It is, because I'm thinking like the attachment is mostly with Dallas and Nakobe. Like, because you're right. Reed doesn't have the attachment. I guess I was thinking more from like a replacement plan.
Yeah, I want to know how your heart feels.
I think Nakobe will be. If it was any other team but the Cowboys, any other team outside the NFC East, I think it would be more palatable.
Tell me about any of these other free agents if you would feel any kind of way in seeing them in a, let's call this one a Giants jersey.
Ugh.
Okay, none of these are crazy. Braden Mann.
he was really good this year.
Marcus Epps.
I like Epps as a depth piece.
Ben Van Sumeren.
BVS.
Grant Calcaterra.
I see ya.
Fred Johnson. Brett Toth. Jahan Dotson.
I got no.
Okay.
No emotional attachment. Yeah. See you guys.
Okay.
I think Nakobe was probably.
I mean, it's interesting because Nakobe has, over the course of his time with the team, been much less valuable than Reed and obviously Dallas Goedert.
And that's what I'm like
about it.
That's what I'm trying to juggle.
It's just that when he does play and when he's on,
he could be the best.
So fun to watch, and he really he is a heart mover.
Yeah, and he's got such a good smile, and you see how much the locker room
to root for.
Yeah, you see how much everybody loves him. And
I think in the building, I think they know that it is very unlikely they are going to be able to bring him back, but I think they are worried about what the loss of him will mean in the building, on the field, because of the leadership that he brings, not just with the Georgia guys, but especially with the Georgia guys.
I was going to say, him and Jordan Davis are kind of the glue of the Georgia guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they all look up to him, and they took a shot on him. They kind of invested that he would bounce back, and he did, and he rewarded their chance on him. And then to just see him go to a division opponent like that, that would probably, you're probably right. It would probably gut me the most.
Okay.
But I do worry about Reed leaving.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly don't have anybody internally to replace him at the moment.
Yeah.
And you don't really want to go with another rookie to play next to a second-year guy.
And then you don't really want to pay
anyway.
When you have Quinyon and Cooper, you don't really want to spend a ton of financial capital at safety. It's tough. This offseason is just weird.
It's going to be very interesting.
Because there's not going to be a lot of like paper upgrades that gets, people doing naked cartwheels down Broad Street. It's going to be a lot of self-promotion.
He's going to do something.
You think? You think there's a rabbit in that?
He's always got something.
What do you think it is?
I don't know.
Is Max Crosby is too big of a rabbit.
That would surprise me. Yeah.
What size move are we talking here?
I don't know. He's going to do something. That's Howie Roseman.
Yeah, he always does something. Yeah.
Stay tuned to find out. All right, let's take our first break here on the PHLY Eagles podcast. On the other side, EJ Smith joins us from the Combine to tell us any whispers he's heard over the past 24 hours. After that, Fran Duffy to talk about the Combine tonight, and then back with more after that. Stay tuned.
We all love Wawa. Why? Because Wawa is always there for us. Between running my kids around to school, to practices, to piano lessons, life is busy, and sometimes you need meals in a pinch, and that's why Wawa's the best. Because right now, they have $5 meal deals all day long. In the morning, stop in, get that sizzly hash brown and coffee, any size for $5 right there on the spot. Continue it with lunch and dinner with the crispy chicken sandwiches they got going right now. Personalize it however you want right there on the machine that we all know and love. And it keeps rolling. They get the roasted chicken sandwich. It's real food, real value, and built for those busy days. No planning, no overthinking. Just swing in, stop, get what you need, and you're on the road again, and you keep it moving. Limited time. Exclusions apply. See Wawa.com for details. Gotta have Wawa.
Philadelphia, listen up. There is an opportunity here for a once-in-a-lifetime money-making opportunity. The World Cup is coming to town, and AirDNA is the leader in data on short-term rentals, and they just released a free calculator to see how much you can make renting your home out during the World Cup. Occupancy is already up 200% and more for the group stage matches, and we are still months away. The available rates that people are charging is 2 to 3 times more than what they were normally charging last year. So you got a big opportunity to get the money you need for whatever it is you're dreaming about. So listen to the sound of my voice. Think about that brand new patio, season tickets, the epic vacation. Heck, go to the World Cup and stay with a friend while you rent out your house. I don't care what you do with the money, but you got to go see how much you can make at airdna.co/Eagles. All right, we are back on the PHLY Eagles podcast, and look who we have. EJ Smith, our Eagles insider, live from the Combine on the Xfinity Mobile call-in line. EJ, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm a little sad that you're not with me in Indianapolis now.
It's weird for you to be there and for me not to be there.
Yeah, I had a nice night last night. Hung out with one Zach Berman. We had a good time. Pounded the pavement, pounded the carpet. I got to tell you, I think that this year's Combine, I think actually the convention center during the day may be slightly more productive than the bar crawl at night. And I think that we might be seeing a trend here in Indianapolis.
I think you need to you got to move your hours to earlier. I think the coffee shops in the morning is maybe even a better place.
What is that supposed to mean? I was here earlier this morning.
It means you're a sleeping lazy guy.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were inferring, and I didn't appreciate that.
You're out till 4 in the morning, drinking it up with the rest of the league when the real decision makers are up early.
Yeah, I was about to say you won't. You didn't. I spent a record low amount of time in Prime this year, and honestly, I feel fine about that decision. Like I said, walking around the convention center, you never know who you're going to bump into. So it's been a good Combine.
What a tease! Well, give me a little nugget, because you and I have been talking, but I wasn't with you the past 24 hours. Give me something that you heard that I wasn't there to hear. Give me just a little something.
Okay, do you want like a small thing that the sickos will love, or do you want like a big picture thing? Where would you like to start?
Let's start with the big picture thing and let the sickos hang around for the little nugget.
Okay, I like that. So my big picture takeaway here is I've actually heard a lot of optimism about the way the Eagles offense is going to look. Obviously, there are a lot of things that the Eagles are going to have to figure out offensively from a roster building perspective, and also the sense I got while we were here is that they're really in the early part of the installation process with Sean Mannion. And it isn't like they have a really good handle on what will be and what won't be the type of the things that they're going to major in. I think that there's still a lot of install and imaginating or
Julia, you can come in.
It's
okay. It's okay. I'm talking to EJ, but you can come in.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that there's still a lot of work to do with the offense in terms of what the scheme is going to look like. But I think there's an optimism and an invigoration about the fact that this is a new staff and that there's a new vision for what it's going to look like. And, the offensive line is going to have an offseason of rest. Devontae is going to have a bigger role that everyone's really excited about. There's a lot of buzz around that. The one thing that I think has been interesting is that we have not heard much about how Jaelan will look in this new system. We haven't heard much about this system is perfect for Jaelan, which is interesting because it's probably the most important thing, right? It's like, how is the quarterback going to look at this? So I think that's it's a huge question that I wish, I wouldn't say I wish, but I would have expected to hear more people more bullish on how Jaelan will look on it. I think it's a big projection how he will look in the system, and I think that the fact that you haven't heard as much about that is probably reflective of that.
I think some of that is that we have heard, don't expect this to all of a sudden become a passing offense, right? A lot of this, and it goes with what Nick Sirianni said publicly, is the focus here was to kind of fix the running game, and that is the way that they want to be built, which is interesting, given what we know that Jeffrey Lurie cares about and the way that Howie Roseman has built a team in the past. It's interesting, but I also think I don't know exactly what to make of it, but I did get the same sense as you. It's not like people are like, I can't wait to see Jaelan in this offense. I think Howie dipped his toe into that a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe that is just the nature of the interpersonal dynamics between Jaelan and the building at the moment.
Yeah. I'm not saying that there's like a super high level of concern about how Jaelan would look in the offense, but it is kind of the one absence, I feel like, where, you don't hear people who are saying it like with their full chest, like Jalen's going to really kill it in the system. And again, I think as they figure out what exactly the system is going to be, whether some of the RPO stuff that Jaelan has been really good at in the past, whether they can incorporate that into a McVay-Shanahan style system, because you really don't see that very much. So I think that's another big question that I have that as it pertains to Jaelan is what parts of the offense are they going to keep, from what parts of the past iterations of this Eagles offense are going to make it into this new system. And, are those the things that Jaelan does really well? Because that probably would make you feel a little bit more confident as you take on this big leap into a very different scheme that asks the quarterback to do a lot of different things.
And what level of influence is Jaelan going to have in any of that stuff as those decisions are made?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before. Like, Jalen's a big why guy. He needs to understand the why behind what they're doing. So, I think we've heard a lot of good things about Sean Mannion. I imagine that he would be a strong communicator and very capable of explaining the why. But, we have seen examples in the past where the offense has maybe lacked some imagination. And, I think it's fair to say that some of that is reflective of the fact that maybe some coaches have struggled to really explain the why to Jalen Hurts.
Okay. Now, I think part of that, as we talk about the interpersonal dynamics and just what the building is like, as you talk to people around the league, what is their level of fascination with the Eagles at the moment?
Yeah, it's funny that you ask that, because I have run into some people who have worked for the Eagles who no longer work for the Eagles. And I think there's always like a consensus where people will just go like, man, that is a unique building.
That's building.
A dramatic building. Yeah, it's an intense building. I think a lot of them look back on it with like fond memories. Obviously, the team has been successful, but, acknowledging that fact that, you go somewhere else and it's usually different. So, to me, I think it's not necessarily like a criticism of the Eagles for running the organization the way that they do. They're successful, and I think even they would acknowledge that. The fact that their building is not for everyone, but they have been successful because they run it that way. And yeah, I think that there's been a mix of some people who are like, "Cool, man, it was really tough there," and maybe not as positive. But most of the people I do talk about who will say that, like, man, that is a unique and intense experience working in Philadelphia. I think they look back on it honestly with like fond memories because it is like painted by the success that the team has had recently.
It's not dissimilar from the way that Nick talked about Sean Mannion, right? And the idea that there were people who didn't want to work in the building, and okay, if they don't want to work here, then that's fine. We'll find somebody who does.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, we've talked about it. There's a pressure and an intensity. There's an expectation, right? When you work for the Eagles, and I think that's what sums it up for the most part. I think that sums it up. And I think it's not for everybody, but the people who it is for, they can enjoy the fact that I was saying this to someone earlier. Like an 8-9 season in Philadelphia is generally viewed as a failure. You go 10-7, like that's you might lose your job. That's not going to be the case everywhere that you would work. There's plenty of places in the league that would be very happy with that. So yeah, it's a different experience, but again, I think it's kind of like those expectations have been earned, and a lot of people do like working at a place like that. So, but it's funny because this is where we get to see the whole league, and you sort of do realize like not everybody's like graded on the same rubric, as people in the Eagles building.
That's fair, but that's also it's good. They should have high expectations. All right, you teased this little nugget. Give me this little sicko nug.
All right, so I don't want to oversell it because who knows where this will actually go, but people are really bullish on Drew Kendall. Multiple people I've talked to just bringing up Drew Kendall as like, oh man, like he had a really good rookie season.
Yeah,
and it got me thinking about the potential to move Cam Jurgens over. I'm not saying this is a week one situation at all. I think that, as injuries play out, depending on what the Eagles do in the draft, could you see a world where Drew Kendall is starting at center and then Cam Jurgens can play guard in this new version of the Eagles offense? Previous iterations of the Eagles offense, you're expecting those guards to be Mekhi Becton types, Brandon Brooks types, obviously Landon Dickerson types, where you've got big, powerful guards who can sort of displace people at the point of attack. In an outside zone system that Sean Mannion is, we assume will at least have part of the Eagles run game probably will be moving more toward outside zone, which prioritizes movement skills and athleticism. You maybe could get by with Cam Jurgens at guard. And then I think the other thing that would do that would benefit the Eagles, again, this is a long-term thing. I think that part of what I think people really like about Drew Kendall is the way that he sees the game. And I think while Cam Jurgens has been a center for most of his career, I think that the calls, like being able to take the calls off his plate, might be beneficial too. So, like if you have somebody like Drew Kendall who has been a center his whole life, he's got the pedigree, he's got the experience, I think that they are like bullish on not only him as a player, but him as somebody who could sort things out at the line of scrimmage. So this might be a year early. Maybe we're a year early on this, but just like the amount of times I've heard Drew Kendall's name from people this week, it's like, okay, I'm filing that one away.
Well, I'll tell you, you said it there, but the thing that's most fascinating about that is, okay, Drew Kendall had a good year in the building. They're excited about Drew Kendall. They're thinking about, is there a way to get both him and Cam Jurgens off the field if Landon Dickerson retires or gets injured again? Tyler Steen's going to be a free agent. How do we, big picture, fill out the big five of the offensive line? But Drew Kendall is bigger than Cam Jurgens. Drew Kendall's 6'4", 308. Cam Jurgens is 6'3", 303 or something like that. It's very similar, but Kendall is bigger. And so if the
I'm
internal
go out on the limb too.
No, but if the internal thought, I mean, you've heard that. If the internal thought is Jurgens is the one that we would move, not Kendall, that tells you a lot about the way they feel about Jurgens handling the mental load of the pre-snap stuff.
Yep, I think you're spot on there. I think that there were times last year where the Eagles did struggle with pre-snap diagnosis, and obviously Cam Jurgens had a tough year all around, physically, and I think it also probably did seep into some of the stuff sorting out pre-snap at the line of scrimmage. So, that's a good point by you. And I was even going to go so far as saying, like, I think based off of anecdotal evidence being in the locker room, I think Drew Kendall is the type of guy who goes up in weight during the season, and Cam is one of those guys who loses weight during the season. So I think that like their listed sizes, like their listed weights are probably even closer than their actual weights would be midway through the year.
Now, the flip side to that the other reason that it could be is Jurgens is obviously a better athlete than Drew Kendall. And so if the guard spot is all of a sudden is now really the place where you want to have that athlete, then maybe that's the reason for using him more as a weapon on the move than having him be stuck inside.
Yeah, I got one more small offensive lineman. Well, not small. I've heard good things about Cameron Williams as well.
Yeah,
the fact that he came in and played.
We were all impressed with what he did in Week 18.
Yeah, I think that feeling is shared inside the building as well. So those are two guys to keep an eye on during camp. I'm not saying that this is some imminent thing that, week one, Cam Jurgens is going to be starting at guard. Because you don't really know the pathway for him to do it unless somebody's hurt anyway. But yeah, I think Drew Kendall might be a bigger part of that interior offensive line, like succession planning, than maybe you would expect based off his draft pedigree.
All right. I think that's a good nugget. I appreciate that, EJ.
Yeah, like I said, pounding the pavement.
Since yesterday's episode, I have heard from thousands of people who have been fascinated by the story of Illmatic Guy. What an album.
Okay.
So my question for you is,
going with this.
without naming names, what is the most embarrassing thing you saw a member of the media do over the last 24 hours?
That's a good question. I don't have anything that comes right to mind. I've probably done some embarrassing things. So I think, I don't have anything that comes to mind. I'm sorry.
Nobody's making a fool of themselves at a bar.
You know what? Okay, I do. I'm not going to name names because I don't know the guy's name. And if he's watching, I apologize. You know how they've got the platform for camera people, like behind all the podiums?
Yes.
This guy, like, jumped off the platform and he tripped and he fell right on his face. Like, I felt really bad for him. But then he gets up and he like just rams through an entire crowd of people at a podium, like waiting for a prospect. And I was like, and he like adjusted something. Like he must have had like a microphone or a camera set up, and it didn't. It must have been messed up. But like,
Oh man.
Like I went from feeling bad for him to all of a sudden being like, hey, like relax, man. Like, you can't just like, just like be like throwing elbows to get through the crowd. So no, that's the only thing that comes to mind.
That's pretty good.
Fun. I went out to dinner. Did Fran tell you about dinner?
No, you said you hung out with someone, but I didn't hear about dinner.
Yeah, I went out to dinner with Fran. I don't know if I'm supposed to out who we were out with, but it was a nice time. Fran talked draft the whole time. I learned a lot.
Roseman?
It was not Howie. No, it was not Howie. But Fran, one thing I don't know if you know this about Fran, but so we were at the place that's attached to St. Elmo's, Harry and Izzy's. Really good spot, by the way. So we get the shrimp cocktail. And, for for the viewers who aren't familiar, the shrimp cocktail is unlike any other one you'll probably have because it's like 90% horseradish, right?
It's overstated.
It's strong.
The way that people talk about the shrimp cocktail at St. Elmo's and Harry and Izzy's, it's good. It's got a horseradish kick. If you've had a little too much wasabi before, you've experienced it. It's fine.
Yeah, like your sinuses just light up.
Yeah.
It's good. I wouldn't rave about it. It's the type of thing when you're here, you get it because it's one of the only places you'll probably get something like that. At least, I'm not a foodie like you, but I wouldn't get that somewhere in Philly. So I always get it. And when I get it, I like cut up the shrimp. Like I'm like, I try to really, I don't want to overdo it and be like coughing or like wheezing or, whatever. I try to really pace myself.
Be a man.
Yeah. So you just eat the whole shrimp then?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's what Fran did. And I was like, man,
of course,
this guy's like such a football guy.
Be a man. You're already eating shrimp.
Yeah. But like
you're cutting up your shrimp
flavor.
That's so dainty.
Yeah. It is. I was sitting there with Fran and I'm like, I feel like that's like such a wimp because like I'm sitting here like cutting it up, like making sure there's not too much on there. And Fran is just taking it and just eating it. And I mean, listen, the guy, he's a football guy.
Now, did you get your steak as you like it, medium well?
I got it medium rare, and it was very good. No, I did not get it medium well. I mean, listen, no, I got nothing against somebody who likes a medium well steak. Whatever you want, whatever your preference is. But
BJ likes his steak like he likes his reporting. Well done.
No. Actually, no. I do like my reporting that way.
All right, EJ, thank you so much. We will talk to you tomorrow at 2:00. You'll be back in the studio.
Why don't you think about
what it is that we should talk about on the show tomorrow? Let's figure it out.
I will think about that. Yes.
All right, back with more here on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Up next, Fran Duffy breaks down what to watch tonight as the defensive linemen take the field. Thank you, EJ. Xfinity's 5-year price guarantee is an opportunity for peace of mind because so much can change over the course of 5 years. But what if you could just lock in a great price for reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? What if you could keep that price for 5 years? That is the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 years. And the best part, no annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment included. So take it from me. A lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won. Records are broken. Dreams grow bigger. But your Wi-Fi, it's going to stay reliable, and the price will stay put. So lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply. Do the Eagles really want Tanner McKee returning punts? No, it's not worth the risk or the time or the money. You keep your stars focused on what they do best, and the same idea applies to your business. For small and mid-sized businesses, competing with bigger companies isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter. With competition heating up, you can't afford to fall behind. This AI goes way beyond ChatGPT, and it gets overwhelming fast. That's why having a trusted guide like Togo matters. Instead of buying expensive AI tools, Togo helps you build exactly what you need at a fraction of the cost. Togo streamlines your operations by handling customer service, accounting, order management, logistics, admin, data entry, and even complex multi-step processes like the cost of a building. It's all in-house. Programs start as low as $1,000 a month and are built to scale without breaking the bank. So visit harnesstogo.com and visit PHLY for a free operational assessment. Welcome back to the PHLY Eagles podcast, and we go to Indianapolis now to bring in my friend Fran Duffy. Fran, do you miss me?
I miss you. It's been far too long. It's been about 24 hours.
I know. It's a sad 24 hours. We went a long time before that. Now I'm used to you. How was dinner last night?
Dinner was good. Yeah, it was I had a little steak. It was my last real dinner before the madness kicks off with drills and stuff tonight. So I usually have treat myself to a nice deal or a nice meal, and then it's a little bit smaller fare the rest of the way.
All right. Well, let's get to that, because the reason that is the case is that the drills begin tonight, and it starts with the defensive lineman. If you have not seen it yet, Fran has. It's interesting. You call these cheat sheets, Fran. I feel like cheat sheet implies like quick and dirty. There's nothing quick about these bad boys.
Look.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to sell the people. This is if you want to have a preview of what to expect, what to care about throughout the outs over the next 4 days. You start with Fran's breakdowns, and you have the whole defensive line breakdown here, and we can work through some of it. But from an Eagles perspective, let's think about is there someone who you think could be good enough at 23 overall or around there if the Eagles move around to sway them from going offense? If there's someone who's just screaming best player available, we care about the line of scrimmage, we cannot pass up this level of player, who might that be?
Really, the only one that I can foresee falling to them, and within striking distance even, would be Keldric Faulk, and that's a guy that is definitely, I'm sticking my neck out.
He is your guy.
Yeah, this is a guy that I'm extremely high on. He's my number one pass rusher in this class, ahead of Arvell Reese, ahead of David Bailey. The best way that I would describe it is that I think all three are like potential blue chip players, moving forward into the NFL. And all of them have, slightly different skill sets. Keldric Faulk is big. I mean, he's 6'6", 280 pounds. He got measured today. The measurements are all outstanding. I'll be plugging them into the draft guide tonight at some point, probably like 2 a.m. I'm going to be putting all that stuff in. But he's a bigger guy, and he's really young. Doesn't turn 21 until mid-September. He had 7 sacks as a sophomore. He only had 2 this past year. That's the big knock. Where's the production? This guy has been productive at points in his career. Extremely young, was a 2-time captain, represented them at media days as a sophomore, first time ever that ever happened in Auburn history. He's got a clean medical record. I mentioned the character. He's athletic. He's disruptive. There's just a lot to love about this profile with Keldric Faulk. I don't think it's a matter of if he becomes a good player, like a great player at that position. To me, it's a matter of when. And I do think that it's like, all right, you might need a year for him to kind of get there. But I really, really like Keldric Faulk. Now, David Bailey, he's going to go top 5. Arvell Reese, he's probably going to go top 5 as well from Ohio State. They're a little bit more slender, a little bit smaller. They've got some holes in the profile as well. But if Keldric Faulk were to fall, into the late teens, into the early 20s, to me, that's one I can't pass up on that profile.
Now, is there a chance that playing inside is his best spot at the next level?
I thought so when I was coming into the fall. When I did him over the summer, and it was like, if he's 6'6", 280 right now, like, all right, is he going to be able to add a little bit more weight on? As I did more work here from this fall, I kind of saw more of a little bit more of a slender torso. This is the chance the first chance I'm going to be able to see him up close to really kind of gauge this. But I was like, because I was kind of going back and forth. He was able to rush from both alignments. He worked inside, he worked outside. Arik Armstead is a player that has come up for me as I was studying him, and he is a guy that has kind of bounced back and forth between edge and defensive tackle in his career. I do think that's one of the things with him is you love the versatility. He can win from both alignments. It's not like positionless. It's he's able to win from both spots.
And I think you could talk yourself into, if Jaelan Phillips leaves, you do want someone who has that bigger body type. With Nolan and Jalix is a little bit bigger, but they don't have that really big guy That I could, I don't think that's crazy. So
Yeah.
what should Eagles fans watch him do tonight and care about?
Yeah, I think that to me, you want to see, because I'll be interested to see what do the raw numbers look like.
Yeah.
But then you have to keep in mind, you have to contextualize the weight. At 280 pounds, if he runs I'm throwing numbers out. If he runs a 4.6, that is not the same as a 240-pound pass rusher running a 4.6, right?
Right.
And so just making sure you keep that context in mind. I'll be trying to provide that as much as I can live, but then also keep an eye out for it in the draft guide. I think that watching Keldric Faulk go through everything, it's going to be big for him. Now, a lot of these other big names, we're not going to see them test. We're not going to see Rueben Bain Jr. from Miami. He's not going to test. We'll see some of these other guys. So it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be a good night. It's a good group to start this off with, because I think the edge rush group is probably the best overall position in this class.
Oh, interesting. Let's clip that. That's a good little nugget there, Fran. I want to ask you about Rueben Bain, even though he is not testing tonight, as you said, because I just finished with BG, and everybody makes that comparison because Rueben Bain has the short arms. I was just reading BG, his scouting report from back then, and the hook was short, thickly built. Which, okay, we'll take that.
Yeah.
Do you think that the BG comparisons are fair for Rueben Bain? And could he be in play at 23?
I just think he's going to be off the board. I
Okay.
do think it feels like he's going to go. I think there are too many teams where they will look past the arm length. Look, sub 31-inch arms. I mean, that's just short arms. But I think that to me, I always talk about this whether we're talking hand size for quarterbacks, arm length for tackles, and with pass rushers or corners. It's not a problem unless it's a problem. And with me, with Rueben Bain, I don't see it as a problem when I'm watching him on tape. I've watched him dominate as an 18-year-old freshman at Miami in the ACC. I don't really need to see anything more. Is he a top shelf athlete? No. I wrote Brandon Graham down as a comparison. I wrote Vinny Curry down as a comparison for Rueben Bain Jr. So Melvin Ingram is a guy that comes to mind. All these sawed off pass rushers that just play with relentless violence and are always going a million miles an hour. I think that absolutely applies here for Rueben Bain Jr. To me, he's going to go off the board. It could be as early as I've talked with people our PHNX group over at the Cardinals at 3. They're like, oh, Rueben Bain could be in play for the Cardinals. So as early as 3, I can't imagine he falls past Kansas City's at 9, Cincinnati's at 10, Dallas is at 12. I don't think any of those 3 teams are going to be passing on Rueben Bain.
All right, now let's stick with the edge before we move to defensive tackle. Who are the guys? Day 2, day 3 guys who you expect to impress tonight?
Yeah, I think it starts with R. Mason Thomas, the pass rusher from Oklahoma. When I studied him early on, and I was like, he might be kind of like a Bryce Huff-ish, designated pass rusher type, which is fine. Those guys have value, but we know what the downside can be with a profile like that. I do think that he does enough against the run where I'm willing to kind of look past some of the shortcomings there. But R. Mason Thomas should test really well. Slightly undersized, but good first step. Initially, the lateral quickness is all there. Romello Height from Texas Tech. He's a little bit high cut, but I would imagine the 40-yard dash, the jumps, all that stuff, anything that's this linear straight line, I think will look really, really strong for him. Josh Josephs from Tennessee, probably more of a mid to late round type. I think he's going to test really well as well. So those would be the guys that stand out from a testing standpoint from this edge class.
All right, and then also in this breakdown, you have the guys who have the most at stake, essentially. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to read you the other 3 aside from Keldric Faulk, and you tell me why they are important players to watch. Akeem Mesidor from Miami, LT Overton from Alabama, and Nadam Tucker?
I believe it's Nadame Tucker.
Mm.
And look, both with Mesidor and Tucker, the issue is that they are old. Tucker is 26, and Mesidor turns 25 right before the draft, early April. And Mesidor,
that's all I need to hear. Get out. Don't need it.
Look, people are talking about Mesidor as a lock first-round pick, and I can't get there. Yeah, I cannot get there. And maybe he is. I think that there are a handful of teams that if you told me the Dallas Cowboys, they select, Sonny Styles or, or they select, a linebacker or a safety at 12, and then they come back at 20. That is a team that has been willing to take chances on guys that fall due to injury or character, age. They've taken guys that are outliers in those certain spots if they think that they can get value with those picks. So I could see them going with Akeem Mesidor. That would, to me, would be the ceiling. But this is a player that sixth-year senior. I just mentioned he turns 25 before the draft. He was extremely productive this year. He has not always been consistently productive. He's got a history of foot injuries. He had a foot surgery going back to his days at West Virginia, transferred to Miami, missed some time, missed a couple games this year with a foot injury. So we're talking about an older player who won with technique and the ability to win at the top of the rush. I mean, you're extremely refined. But that's what you expect from a 24-year-old rusher. So it's a tough profile to bet on. The film's good. Like I like the film, but the profile's questionable. So to me, he needs to test well. Like, if you're going to buy into it, like he's going to have to test well here at this event.
All right, last edge guy I want to ask you about, just because I'm going through the comparisons, which I hope everybody can look at on the Die Hard Draft Guide, and I see lesser Matt Judon, and to me, I that's the one that piques my interest. So tell me about Malaki Lawrence from UCF.
Yeah. He's a compact rusher. I think he built very similarly to Matt Judon when Judon was coming out. I want to say Grand Valley a few years ago with New England. And I think when you're looking at Lawrence, what I like most about him is he's really good with his hands. His ability to win at the top of the rush is pretty advanced for a guy who's a fourth-year senior, so not an old. He's on the older side, but this is a guy that has the ability to win with technique. Shorter arms than maybe what you would like, not as short as Rueben Bain, but this is a guy that can win at the top of the arc. Does just enough as a run defender. Not a guy that I think is going to stand out in that area. That would probably be my biggest knock. But I think a lot of people had those same concerns about Judon as well, not just coming out of college, but even in the NFL at times. So to me, that's one I think you're probably talking like third round, fourth round for Malaki Lawrence from Central Florida.
All right, let's talk defensive tackles quickly, and we'll spend less time here because it is harder to imagine the Eagles using a premium pick on a defensive tackle, given everything they have there, the money they're going to have to spend. And it's also, you talked about how the edge is maybe the best group in this class. Defensive tackle, I mean, I'm looking here, you got one guy in your top 30 and only two in your top 50, which feels a little bit atypical from recent years for defensive tackles. Is there any way you could squint and see Peter Woods making sense for the Eagles?
That would surprise me unless there was we get into back to our no bad ideas and you're not going to be bringing back Jalen Carter on extension. I think it would be hard to try and squeeze him in there. He's not working out this week, which we just found. Adam Schefter broke that a little bit ago, so he's not working out. He had a little bit of a down year. The production wasn't there, and then even like the level of the quality of the tape fell off a little bit for me. Now I'm hoping he goes through the position workout, but he is a disruptive player. Clearly, to me, the DT1, I think when you're looking at some of the other guys that are in contention there, you talk about Caden McDonald from Ohio State. He's more run stuffer and doesn't give you much as a pass rusher. Lee Hunter, kind of similar from Texas Tech. I would say the other guy that's kind of the wild card there is Caleb Banks, and he was a top 15 player for me coming into the season. He's a little bit older. He's going to be a 24-year-old rookie who is a 330-pound defensive tackle with he's got some pass rush upside, but he's got a long history of foot injuries over the last 13, 14 months where he missed a ton of time. He only played 3 games this past year. So a bigger guy who was a little bit of a late breakout with a foot injury, that's a little bit of a concern on the profile.
I also have to ask you about, I was editing these pieces, and I had to text you because there's a great nickname in here. Dominique Orange, the Big Citrus.
I mean, one of the best nicknames we've seen from any prospect in recent memory. 6'4", 325-pound nose tackle. Big Citrus is just, it's an unbelievable nickname. He's a good player.
Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah. In the second round, I would say no. You get into the third, fourth round, we'll get there.
Okay. All right. Anything else for the defensive tackles? Anybody who you want to plant a flag on as a day 3 guy that you like?
Yeah, I mean, there are some smaller school guys that kind of move the needle a little bit for me. I really like Caleb Proctor from Southeast Louisiana. Saw him down at the Shrine Bowl, and I thought that he really flashed down there. Jackie Marshall from Baylor. I think he's a really athletic kid who's got some first step quickness. So those would be a couple names, like later round types that we've seen the Eagles take some chances on in that area of the draft and hit. So those would be some names to keep an eye on.
All right, everybody go check out Fran's previews for the Combine. We look forward to following it all. And as you said, check out that Die Hard Draft Guide because Fran is going to be updating all of the results as things happen. So a big week for you. Thank you for taking some time. We love you.
Appreciate it, guys. Love you.
All right, back with more here on the PHLY Eagles show. It's time to make your homework smarter, not harder. With a TrueMark Financial home equity line of credit, you can tap into your home's equity to handle renovations, upgrades, or whatever's next on your list. A TrueMark Financial HELOC Select gives you the flexibility to borrow when you need on your timeline. You start with a revolving line of credit. Use only what you need, and when you're ready, you can lock in all or part of the balance at a fixed rate for predictable payments. You only pay interest on what you use, and as you pay it back, that credit becomes available again. No reapplying, no extra steps. So with competitive rates compared to most unsecured loans and flexible repayment options, this could be a smart move for your home and, more importantly, for your wallet. So learn more about TrueMark Financial's home equity line of credit at TrueMark.com or stop by one of their 24 branches to get started. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender, and MLS 404938. Everybody, I'm talking everybody, has their favorite hard tea. But have you ever turned the can to read what's inside? You can't, because they don't tell you, most of them. And while they hide what's inside, Crooked Tea shouts it from the rooftops. They brag about it because Crooked Tea is brewed with real USDA organic tea for real flavor with zero sugar. No fake junk hiding behind the label. What you see is what you drink. So the next time you're at the store, flip the can, and if you can't find the ingredients, just put it back. Then grab a Crooked Tea, zero sugar, real tea, and fully transparent. You know what, Philly? Real, recognize real. So why drink the fake stuff? Crooked Tea. The only thing better is a strip sack in the Super Bowl. Visit crookedtea.com to find a store near you.
We are at the Combine, and what that means is that all of the league's decision makers are here. Howie is meeting and talking to the other GMs from the other teams, the agents around the league. And so what the Eagles have done is they have basically soft said, this is the week where if you want to talk about A.J. Brown, let's discuss it this week.
Yep.
And I think the Eagles will know by the end of this week whether or not they are going to trade A.J. Brown.
If it is widely known that Howie Roseman is gauging the league's interest in meeting his price for star receiver A.J. Brown, how can the Eagles bring him back even if a team doesn't step up to meet him? In what could be a last chance for franchise legend Lane Johnson, the last ride with DC Vic Fangio, and maybe even a crossroads for the head coach Nick Sirianni himself, how can you bring back A.J. Brown if the main issue is the drama surrounding him to begin with? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Billadelphia, presented by Togo. Now, I have been solidly against the idea of trading AJ, but his drop-filled performance against the 49ers and a few questionable plays leading up to the playoffs has opened the door to me being at least okay with it, assuming Howie makes a subsequent move to bolster the receiving core after moving your number one guy. But now that it's public, now that it has been reported as a possibility, doesn't it have to happen? How can you put the locker room and coaching staff in the position of dealing with this situation, even if a team doesn't meet your exact price tag? The fact that Bo Wulf is saying this is what the Eagles are doing at the Combine, it is what they are using this week for, that has created a situation in which this isn't just speculation, and therefore it has to happen. Even if there isn't a direct move lined up to replace the man who has put up 32 touchdowns and over 5,000 yards in his 4 seasons with the Eagles, this feels inevitable. And that's a bummer because A.J. Brown has been awesome in Midnight and Kelly Green. But now we have to trust Howie to get the absolute most in return because you cannot bring back a malcontent after openly shopping him like this. It would feel an awful lot like, I don't know, drafting a quarterback in the second round while a quarterback on a monster contract is still here, which was a situation that happened and ultimately resulted in the firing of the organization's first Super Bowl winning head coach. I have to believe Howie learned from that experience, and that means if this trade talk is out there, which it is, it will eventually be consummated. There are no other options. And again, that makes me sad because I am a big AJ Brown fan, but I'm a bigger Eagles fan, and this has to happen.
All right, back on the PHLY Eagles podcast. I like that Billadelphia segment. Slick production.
Yeah. Brenna's doing a great job with this.
Like that.
Phenomenal.
Good stuff.
That situation stinks. I'm exhausted by it.
I get it because I from an Eagles fan's perspective, of course, like I'm tired of thinking about it. You must be thinking, or like trade him or don't trade him, but they got to go through the process, and you can't just take everything they say at face value. I tell you that that's not the truth. Like,
I think I'm putting 1 turkey on the chance of him being back.
I think it's more than that.
8?
I actually think it's
20?
No, I think it's even higher than that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
40?
Yeah. 40, 45.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's pretty close to 50-50. I think truthfully the ball is in AJ's court.
Oh, I believe that.
Of if AJ is has let the season settle,
Wash over him.
and the reports are that he and Jalen are in better terms than they've been in recent years. I don't think it's crazy. And I think the Eagles, their number one choice would be to have him back.
I believe that, yeah. I just don't think that's AJ's
I don't know.
choice.
I don't know. I'm holding space for it, as EJ would say.
Yeah, I've already come to terms with him being gone. It's just what can we get for him? That's all I care about.
I do think it will be annoying if this also drags out to the summer and it's like through camp. Like, okay, you're still waiting. I don't know.
Yeah. Why can't we have nice things for long periods of time in this town?
Jamie, I was thinking about you the other day.
Oh.
Actually, on yesterday's show, when we were having the discussion, I don't know if you caught this, about a hotel room situation. And my question is, how much is it out of me versus how much can I be annoyed at? You check into a hotel, you got to have a quick turnaround. You're going to meet a potential source. Got a shower after getting off the plane. You're rushing through. You get in the shower and you realize that there are no towels on the towel rack. It's like a walk around the corner and get into the under the sink situation. You got to make a wet mess.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to be annoyed at the towel rack?
No, because I think that's more common.
It's fully on me.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think it's more common that the towel isn't there than it is there.
But I was thinking about you because of the
I can just wipe off.
The interesting thing we learned about you at the holiday party.
I'm a robe guy.
You go straight to the robe.
Yeah, I haven't used the towel.
You get out of the shower into the robe and then you stay in the robe.
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me.
I make the girls breakfast in my robe. I'm like Tony Soprano. I go get the morning newspaper in my robe. I'm making eggs in my robe.
Well, that I mean, I like that. That sounds like you're living in luxury. But
Yeah.
I feel like the idea of going from wet and then the robe sops up the wetness and you're living in the wetness, then that to me is
well,
that is what is peculiar.
I'm a hairless mammal.
Okay.
So I feel like there's not as much wetness that stays with me.
Okay.
Because I kind of like wipe off.
Okay, sure. You're not just going straight. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's I'm more dry than your average bear getting into the robe.
Okay.
But to me, the robe is made out of towel material. Why would I dry off before getting into another?
But isn't
body
the idea
size
of the
towel?
robe is that you're basically enveloping yourself in a hug. It's like
See, I think that's where the robe.
I think there's a misconception.
Yes, I think there's a complete misconception. I think the robe was invented to be a body-shaped towel that you just put on, and it dries the same way as a towel. It is a towel in human form.
Yeah, but you're still dealing with some dampness.
A little bit, but it dries the same way a towel does. I put it up on the
Yeah,
rack.
but why not go towel and then
Because I don't have
go
to like
into the dry?
I don't have to like wipe down. It's just you put it on and everything's dry.
Lindsay, what do you make of this?
I think robes are being used wrong.
About robes?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with Jamie that that's like how they're made and it makes sense, but like I just am not going to use a robe.
See, I think Hollywood bastardized robes in that
Interesting. Blaming
it's
Hollywood.
like, yeah, it's like cigarettes and bonbon and you're feeling sad and like you're sick and everybody just wears the robe. And I believe the robe was invented to just be put on after the shower.
My mom is like a big, like not after the shower. She just like puts on a robe at night and like that's what she like.
Yeah, I feel like
lounges
some
in.
people just use it as like housewear.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it was invented to be a towel.
Okay.
I mean, let me know in the chat. I'm probably going to come off as the
Comment
weird
on the
one.
video. Yeah. How do you feel about this robe situation?
I just put it right on.
Very curious.
I haven't used the towel in 15 years?
That can't be. I mean,
outside of
at
like
home.
hotels and Airbnbs and stuff. At home,
But usually they have a robe at the hotel. Would you use the that?
I have. My wife is a big robe at the hotel person,
Okay.
but she towels off and then gets in the robe.
Yeah.
So we've had our debates about that.
Okay.
I typically don't go robe at the hotel because they're usually smaller. So I look ridiculous, like where it comes up
You're
on
not
my knee and like
BYOR.
Reminds me of this, a story I once heard about Patrick Ewing in a hospital. But
You should tell that story in
overtime. I mean, that thing wasn't made for him.
No, not at all. Oh, yeah. I'm picturing some fruit.
Yeah.
I need to move.
Things are hanging out. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I've always towel. Like,
okay.
who needs it?
I mean, most people.
Just throw a robe on. It's easy.
Okay.
I'm probably in the robe for 45 minutes in the morning when I get the girls ready for school. It does get a little tricky
Do
when
you
I'm
shower first? Or is that
I'm a
post-shower,
morning
or is
shower.
that
shower.
Okay.
I'm a staunch morning because when I used to get up at like 3:30 a.m., I used to have
a
to
way to
shower.
start your day.
So
Yeah.
it's like my routine.
Okay.
If it wasn't for dry skin season, I would just shower twice a day before bed and in the morning. But try to keep it to once a day. I'm really sick of winter. The moisturizing is just out of control.
Yeah. Now it's getting to my lips. I gotta get some.
Yeah, I
chapstick.
cracked the lip the other day.
Yeah. The knuckles have been better this winter than most winters, but still.
I'm ready for spring.
Yeah.
This is outrageous. I'm glad you're thinking of me with the towels and the robes.
I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about the robe thing. Yeah, that stuck with me.
Are you? Have I convinced you to give it a whirl? Do you?
I don't
own
know
a
that I would
robe?
ever go straight to the robe.
Do you own?
I
a
don't.
robe?
I don't personally own a robe. We have Rachel has a couple robes.
Now, does she towel off and then go robe? Does
Yeah,
she wear it
would
as a
never
house
go,
dress?
She would never go straight to the robe.
You should get her thoughts on that.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I find this peculiar, but
I think
I'm happy
most
it makes
people
you-
find
I'm happy it makes you
peculiar.
happy.
Yeah, I'm just saving a step. I'm working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
And then you have to wash the robe, obviously.
I
like-
would hope so.
yeah.
Do you have a rotation of robes, or is it
Just one.
okay? And how long has this one been in?
This one's probably 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Because when the belt loops go,
Yeah.
you're cooked.
So what do? You never get caught with the robe in the wash? If
have.
If you've only got one,
I've had to skip a shower or two when it's been in the
You
wash.
skip the
Wait,
shower. You
that's
won't go
crazy.
towel.
Uh,
Rather than go towel, you will skip a shower entirely.
no, I probably use my wife's towel, but I definitely have skipped a shower here or there because of the robe.
Okay.
Do you have a towel warmer that you put the robe in? That's a
No,
good
I
idea
don't
for
have a
your
towel
wife
warmer. That
to
is
get you.
bougie.
But like,
Do you have one?
no, but I've seen people have it, and it sounds like if you're going for like the comfort of the robe, you want it to be warm.
Yeah.
Really?
The Airbnb we stayed in Vermont over Christmas did have the towel warmer, like built-in rack with like the furnace under it.
Okay.
That was pretty nice.
It seems like the chat is very interested in this robe conversation.
Am I getting any support? Is anybody with me?
Some people are. I see. There's robes for drying off after a shower, and there are robes for Hugh Hefner type people.
Well, yeah,
There's a
that's more
difference.
like smoking jacket,
Yeah,
like sexy
silky,
robe. Yeah, I'm not one of those guys. I'm like a terry cloth, like micro fleece kind of guy.
Would you ever consider the other kind? To
No,
go
I don't
robe
think
to
so.
robe,
That's way too
to
sexy.
seduce the missus.
Yeah, I don't think that's that. I don't think that's getting it done in our house.
Okay. Worth
Are you a
shot.
slippers guy? I see some slipper talking.
I have a pair of slippers. I am not. I'm not always going to the slippers. It's more of a. I find that my feet are cold. I'm going to wear them for about 20 minutes, and
and then they get too hot.
then they get too hot.
Yeah, I have slippers, but
Yeah.
I raw dog the feet as soon as I get home.
Yeah.
Like
Now
you know
I
me.
don't. I don't like walking around the house in socks.
No, it's dangerous. The stairs.
Oh, you can't be carrying a baby in socks
No,
upstairs.
no
Yeah.
way. When the girls are running around dancing every night after dinner, I'm like, get those socks off.
Yeah.
You're gonna eat it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Good conversation. What a show.
Not an orgy guy, huh, Jamie? No, I haven't been. No upside down pineapples in our house.
Come on. Get a life.
This is so crazy. Thank you, Steve.
All right, everybody. That'll do it for this episode of the PHLY
You think
Eagles
Fran and
Podcast.
EJ are robe guys? I can see Fran being a robe guy.
You know what? I was just thinking about who's more likely to be a robe
I think
guy.
Fran.
I think EJ.
Yeah?
I think EJ
The
is
guy that cuts a shrimp cocktail?
yes. Yeah, that's a guy who wants some comfort. He's
Wait, so you think the
he
Venn
wants to wrap
diagram
himself into-
of Robe and cutting shrimp cocktail with a knife and fork are close?
Yes, I do.
Oh, man.
I don't think they're not overlapping, but I feel like there's more overlap there than
50-50.
than shoveling the horseradish right in. A lot of conversation in the chat now about sweaty slipper feet. Yeah, it's a tough one to get right.
I haven't been. Yeah, if anybody's got an orgy going on and wants to throw out an invite over to the
Put it in
PHLY
the comments. Let us know. Otherwise, stay tuned and join us tomorrow at 2:00 when EJ returns, and we'll find out where he lands on Robes. Thank you to Bill and Brenna. Thank you to EJ and Fran for joining us from Indianapolis. Thank you to Jamie for stepping in.
This
and
would be a
Lindsay
question
for
I would
making it
ask
all
some guys
happen.
in combine interview rooms. You're
That's
a
a
road
good,
guy.
that's a good comment.
Really see where
Yep,
they're.
that's
where
how I
they're
used to
coming
do.
from.
I did a series of stories at the Athletic after Nick Sirianni said they were playing rock paper scissors shoot
Yeah.
with guys. So I would just challenge them. Did the airplane etiquette to judge their character, all that stuff. Yeah, it's a good way to find out how people.
I saw the
people think.
seat recline airplane question was going viral again the other day. I don't know why.
This is such old news. I've been talking about this for a decade.
Yeah,
If you recline,
get lost.
get lost.
Yeah,
You have no care for your fellow human.
sad.
Sad. Really sad. That'll do it for the PHLY Eagles podcast. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 2:00. Check out the latest episode of Unblocked with Brandon Graham. Some interesting insight on Jeff Stoutland, Lane, and Landon, a funny Trent Cole story, and more. Find out how many bar fights Brandon Graham has been in.
Oh, I missed that part.
Pretty interesting. Otherwise, we'll talk to you tomorrow at 2:00. As always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.